Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits. Having a little
I gotta catch
fun.
my breath.
Having a little fun here on a Thursday. We got the 12-year NBA veteran, and I think he's been coaching for 125 years, actually.
26.
Paul McKeskey joining us in studio. Paul's driving in and he's listening to these interviews. And if you're just joining us, you missed a lot. I just interviewed a guy by the name of Brady Seymour from Turning Point USA. They're paying Kyle Rittenhouse to speak at Kent State University. We saw what took place last night at University of Memphis. A lot of chaos and mayhem. And we're taking your phone calls at 702-221-7283. Again, that number is 702-221-7283. We'll get to the phone calls in a moment. Mo, what did you think about that interview?
Well, first of all, poor Brady. Bless his heart. I mean, obviously he's over his head, and he's probably not sure about what he's got involved. He thought, probably I'm going to sign up for Turning Point. It's going to be like a fun little thing on campus. I'm going to meet people. And, you know, he didn't know what turmoil he was getting into. But a couple things I want to clear up just for my own purposes. Number one, he was talking about, you guys were talking about Martin Luther King Day and Washington's birthday, all that.
Right.
And I think he was mixed up because he's a Christian, and you cannot worship false idols. But the difference between like a Martin Luther King Day and Abraham Lincoln, you're not worshiping those people, you're honoring those people.
Right.
Like Veterans Day, you're not worshiping veterans, you're honoring them. That's not said in the Bible. So he took that out of context. And as far as far as Trump being a great businessman, you know, he added $7 trillion to the deficit. $7 trillion. He ran it like a business. He ran it like all of his businesses.
Into the
ground. I mean, Trump lost. I always wondered how Trump could lose money in a casino, right? But the problem is, I talked to somebody. It wasn't the casino. He had 3 casinos in the same area, so they fed off each other and it eventually imploded. Yeah. You know, so. And it's really kind of sad because I imagine he's 18, 19 years old, something like that. And it really kind of hurt me when he said, well, my opinion doesn't matter.
Well, I disagreed with that also.
Yeah, but that's sad for him to say that. And, you know, that, and nobody, almost any, you know, and the other thing he said was, hey, I don't know. I wasn't there when every vote was counted. Well, guess what? No one's going to be there when every vote is counted, so you might as well not vote.
And then I say, well, you weren't there when Trump got elected too, right? So would you say the same thing about when Trump? Listen,
but they really, Brent, the saddest thing for me, you know, my kids are, golly, you know my kids, they're like 38. That's crazy, but they're still young adults. But for a really young adult to say, you know, my opinion doesn't matter. That's sad. Really sad.
I don't think he actually believes that. I think it was a cop-out.
I hope not.
A lot of my answers that I got from him were cop-out answers. It's interesting because, you know, Rittenhouse made the appearance at University of Memphis yesterday, and he was asked, and I think we have this audio, by the way. I want you to listen to this interaction. If memory serves me right, we have one more cut that we want to play here, which I haven't played yet, and I want you to hear this. This is Kyle Rittenhouse getting into a discussion with a black student at the University of Memphis yesterday. Rittenhouse says he wants to have a dialogue, and then all of a sudden, he doesn't answer the question. Have a listen to this.
CEO of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, has said a lot of racist things.
Like what racist thing has Charlie Kirk said? No, we're gonna have a little bit of a dialogue. But what racist things has Charlie Kirk said?
Okay, I'll answer the question of racist things he said. He says we shouldn't celebrate Juneteenth. We shouldn't celebrate Martin Luther King Day. We should be working those days. It's called Ketanji Brown Jackson, an affirmative action hire. He's talked nonsense about George Floyd. And he said he'd be scared if a black pilot was on a plane. Does that not seem racist?
I don't know anything about that.
Okay, well, after all the things I just told you, would you consider that hate speech?
I'm not going to comment on that.
All right. Exactly. Deflection. I want to have a dialogue, but I'm not going to comment on that, and I don't know anything about that. By the way, he's called George Floyd a scumbag. No matter what you think about George Floyd and the way he lived his life, he was murdered. It's interesting because he says he wants to have a dialogue, and that's what these racist – and that, yeah, I do think Kyle Rittenhouse is a racist. I think he's a white supremacist sympathizer. Kyle Rittenhouse, during the trial, went to a bar with his mom, under the age of 21, by the way, hanging out with a bunch of Proud Boy members, taking pictures using the white supremacist sign, and Kent State University and Turning Point USA are paying Kyle Rittenhouse, who I would imagine is getting paid boatloads of money to speak at an event on campus, which is disgraceful.
Yeah, number one, what is his talk titles? What is, like, Turning Point, what? So if his talk was, I believe you can stand your ground and have weapons, but you have to take more care of what you do when something happens, and I learned my lesson, okay. But I don't know what they're talking about. And the thing that really, and poor Brady, didn't know how to answer that either. Like, what did he say? With the pilot conversation, a black pilot, I don't know if they're qualified enough. And he went back to the enrollment of, quota of enrollment of colored or whatever people in colleges, right? That, well, you have to go to college to become a pilot. And then when you said, well, no, you don't actually have to go to college. You can be a pilot, but you have to go through their training and their testing. And it doesn't matter what college, if you went or not, there's no answer to that. So
he had no idea what he was talking about. To be a pilot, it doesn't matter what the color of your skin is, man or woman. You have to go through the same training and you take the same testing. What college you went to is completely irrelevant. Charlie Kirk has no idea what he's talking about. He's a racist.
You know what's scary too? What do they call the person that graduates last in their medical class? What do they call them?
The person who graduates last
in a medical class. What do they call them?
You tell me. I don't know.
Doctor.
Yeah.
But they have to go through the training, the specific training.
Of course.
Yeah.
So I want to get people's thoughts on it. I got your thoughts on it. I agree with you, and you made some really good points there. Open up the phone lines. What do you guys think? 702-221-7283. I'm getting a lot of messages. When are you going to open up the phone lines? Well, I'm doing it right now. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We're taking calls now. Let's start off with Antonio. Hi, Antonio.
Hi, Brian. About the caller, this is basically what happens when you get people my age that think they know everything but haven't done any research. And this is the exact outcome you get. What do you guys think? As older adults than me that actually have seen things, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, and I think, and Brian brought this up, I think you could tell that he was kind of listening to someone on the side that was probably trying to tell him, what to say and what not to say. And I agree with you 100%. If you think you know everything, no matter who you are, you're wrong, number one. And you should really research what you're going to talk about. I do that all the time, whether it's with sports or politics or anything. I research and look up. Yeah. Like when I learned I was going to talk about this subject, Turning Point, I looked up their mission statement. I looked up their history. I looked up the charges that were against Rittenhouse and, what was done. So you got to be educated before you speak, please.
Most people that are uneducated usually are bigots. Charlie Kirk is a perfect example of that. I would never be a part of Turning Point USA. He is the founder of Turning Point. This guy decided to be a part of Turning Point. If you're going to be a part of an organization, you better know a little bit about your founder, and you better be able to defend and be indefensible, by the way. The comments that Charlie Kirk has made just today, He said, if you vote Democrat as a Christian, you are no longer a Christian. This guy that I had on is a devoted Christian. How can you just immediately you need to say he was wrong? I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, like how do you even learn what's right if you're so far gone that you don't even know what's wrong? Like
I'm with you, my friend.
How do we fix these people?
You can't fix stupid, and I appreciate you calling in, my friend. Thank you very much. 702.
Yeah, no problem. Have a
Thank
good day, you guys.
You too. Thank you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Mike. Mike is next up on Pushing Limits. What's up, Mike?
Hey, this is Mike. So I just wanted to reflect on the last caller who said two things: that if he wasn't there, he couldn't comment on it, and he won't speak on another man's word.
Right.
So I just wanted to know from him. I know he's not there now, but I just want to know from him how is he a Christian if he won't take another man's word and comment on it, or if he wasn't there, how does he know Jesus is real?
That is such a great point. That's so funny, and you're so right. It's such a great point. You know, they want the Scripture and the Bible and Jesus, but no, I don't speak for another man, and I don't, all that other stuff. You're so right. They're such hypocrites. It's unbelievable.
And I'll tell you where that comes from, too, because I heard it, and I'm sad that he said it. So you speak on someone else's word or idea because that's your opinion, and everyone's allowed to have their opinion. But when he said, my opinion doesn't count, that's that basis of, and it's really sad.
Yeah, it really is. You're right.
It is sad. Absolutely.
You're right, Mike. That's a really good point that you make, and I do appreciate your phone call. Wait, are we saying that the ultra-religious people, some of them might be hypocrites? The far right, they might be hypocrites? Wow. Well, and thank you for the call, by the way, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
I appreciate you. You know, I put this picture up earlier, and I'm going to show it to everybody again, and it's the picture of a pilot, a Delta pilot, probably no longer, who twice the legal limit before he took off a flight from Delta to New York City. Why is Charlie Kirk not talking about this? Why is Turning Point not talking about this? Why is Fox News, OAN, Paul, and Newsmax not talking about this? Oh, I'll tell you why. Because he's white. Because if this pilot was black, Charlie Kirk would be the first one to talk about. But they're bigots. They're racist. They're hateful people. That is what they are. And people say, I'm the one who's doing the race baiting. When the founder of Turning Point says when he walks on a plane and he sees a black pilot, he wonders if that pilot is properly trained.
Here's another thing that leads right into that is, and what I'm sorry, but so poor Brady, he stepped in it again when he made a comment of us white folk. I mean, who says that? Us white folk.
That's a weird comment.
That's so weird.
Well, please don't put me in that category. My skin happens to be white, but I don't want to hang out with anyone that says us white folk. That's just those are the. It seems like those might be the kinds of people that I don't get along with very well. That's just me.
I flew a lot when I was scouting for the Mavericks. I mean, 20 times a month, easy, just crazy. And I never looked at a pilot and if they're black, white, orange, or purple.
No.
I wanted, if they're staggering and slurring their words, I got a problem.
What?
I don't care what they are.
I couldn't agree with you more, Paul. What normal human being walks on a plane and is worried about what the color of the skin is of the pilot of the plane? You have to be a certain special type of bigoted racist like Charlie Kirk to even think like that, let alone say it on a podcast. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Ricky. Ricky is next up. What's up, Ricky?
Yes, I am very upset that Kyle Rittenhouse is allowed to go free after murder. He wanted to murder somebody because a few weeks prior to him, I believe it was, or a few months, when he seen people looting in a store.
I played that audio for you. Okay, so let me respond to what you just said.
Yes.
So I agree with you in this aspect. I played that audio. Kyle Rittenhouse a week before was basically dreaming about shooting people. He said, I wish I had my effing AR. I'd start shooting rounds at them because they were looting. So we know.
His dream
I understand.
came true.
And the judge in the case found that audio to be inadmissible in court, which is a travesty. So here's the deal, though. He's not a convicted murderer, sadly. Do I believe he probably belongs behind bars? Probably. I don't know murder or not, but what I do know is this, and this is the part that frustrates the hell out of me, like with this guest that I had. Not you, Mo. is that
You're always frustrated with me. Come on.
Not you, Mo. Is that he should have never been there. What type of precedents are we setting for 17-year-olds across the country when this kid from Turning Point USA can't even admit that a 17-year-old shouldn't be going to a very dangerous situation dressed up in camouflage with an AR-15 acting like a vigilante. If you can't if we can't even start there and admit that, then where are we in society? Where are we?
And here's the murder charge. You know, first of all, here's the facts of what he faced in court. 5 counts, including first-degree reckless homicide, that's murder. 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide, that's murder. But the one thing that really boggled me, because murder is hard to prove sometimes, 2 counts of first-degree 2 counts of first-degree reckless endangerment.
Right.
And if you take an AR and you're 17 years old into a crazy situation, that's reckless endangerment, I think.
I'd like to say something.
Sure, go ahead.
I find it bizarre. I have never in my life, especially somebody that has been accused of murder, get that close to the judge. When you see him standing, Kyle Rittenhouse, standing behind the judge, looking over the judge's shoulder, I mean, he's been accused of murder. What judge in the right mind allows a murderer to get that close to them?
Well, I'll say
this.
I'm not a fan.
I know that if I was in court
Yeah.
and I was to make a step towards the judge, I think I would have my lawyer, the state's attorney, and the court clerk trying to hold me back.
And the
You
bailiffs,
don't step that close to the judge.
Fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way you look at it, we have to respect the jury's decision. I didn't like the judge in the case, but I don't want to sound like MAGA Republicans and blame, Republicans for why Kyle Rittenhouse was found innocent. I think the prosecutors did not do a great job. I think they got very unlucky with a judge that certainly sided with Kyle Rittenhouse on a number of issues. But I'm not going to sit here. You have the right to, sir. I'm not going to sit here and call him a murderer, but I will do is call him an idiot. Kyle Rittenhouse is a moron. He's an idiot. He's a wannabe vigilante. He should not be getting paid and being rewarded for being a moron. Yeah, I agree.
He should be in prison.
Well, I don't disagree with you. He probably deserved a little bit of jail time, and I appreciate your phone call, and I understand where you're coming from. Thank you very much. 702-221-7283. Mo, let's go to Gary, who's next up on Pushing Limits. What's up, Gary?
How are you today?
Why don't you ask Mo? I'm doing fine.
I'm doing great.
You don't care how Mo's doing? Just me, Gary?
I care how Mo's doing. How are you, Mo?
I'm good, man.
Hey,
my bracket's still intact, so I'm happy.
I'll be brief. I would wish that you could have Ron Kelly on the show. He's the CEO of Las Vegas Flight Academy, and he wants to recruit 600 minority and women pilots. And he's right here in Las Vegas.
Well, I think that's great. I think that's great. And I think
he's a black man, and he's in the Las Vegas Weekly. And he does mention that some of these airlines, they're lowering their standards. You don't longer have to have a 4-year college degree. And they're trying to start trouble with you again, Brian.
No, you're not starting, Gary, you're not starting trouble with me. Here's my response to that. If somebody says that you don't need a college education to be a pilot, that has nothing to do with race. That applies to everybody. All these pilots still have to pass the same tests and training to become a pilot. And that has nothing to do with being black. But somehow Charlie Kirk wants to equate it as, if I see a black pilot, they're probably not trained as well as a white pilot, which is racist, bigoted, and a lie and ridiculous. And somehow Charlie Kirk has the platform, and he brainwashes people, sadly, like Brady, and it's very sad.
I think Brady really held up pretty well with you, because I know your style. And he was a young man, and he was like probably freaking out halfway through, like, what did I get myself into?
Well, I know he had somebody whispering to him, because I guess he needed to be,
look, I don't know much about Charlie Kirk, and I don't know much about the Turning Point, but I keep thinking about Jerry Seinfeld's problem with the pilot, because I'm old, and I cherish all those funny shows like they used to make. The pilot was really weird, and he kept staring at him, and he was freaking out. I don't know if you
I'll say
recall.
this, Gary, and by the way, Gary, it's good to hear from you. I appreciate the call. I'll say this, Gary. My favorite pilot scene in any movie, I think you're going to know, it has something to do with Mo, because he played against this guy. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, baby. Airplane.
Airplane, baby.
Is there, Mo, is there any better scene than that one? When they pull him out of the pilot chair wearing his Lakers gear.
The best part of that was when he kind of attacked the young son. Say, you tell your dad to haul around Bob Lanier for 48 minutes a night.
God, was that a great scene. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the show. All right.
And to Gary's point, like talking about lowering standards of pilot whatever recruitment.
Yeah.
Well, if it said we're going to lower our standards for some group, whether it's black, white, whatever, then I would have a problem. But if you're lowering your standards just to lower standard, I still have a problem. But it's not racist.
No. I totally agree with you, and I just think that Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, it's bigoted in nature. They can say what they want. Who do we have next on?
You know who's on their website right now?
Yeah.
There's a picture of the former mayor that dye ran down his hair. Was it? Giuliani. Yeah, Giuliani.
Rudy Giuliani.
There's a picture of him on their website saying donate. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, I think that's all you need to know about the credibility or lack thereof of Turning Point USA, Rudy Giuliani. I mean, what a joke. So I'm pretty confident that they would pay Rudy Giuliani to speak at one of their events. I'm pretty confident.
He probably gets a percentage of the money that they raise.
But Mo, did you know this? That if, according to Charlie Kirk, that if you're a Christian and you vote Democrat, you're no longer a Christian. And then you have Donald Trump. By the way, really brilliant for Republicans who can't win a popular vote, want to attack Christians, millions of Christians in this country, if they don't vote Republican. And then Donald Trump the other day saying, you must hate your religion if you're Jewish, and you must hate Israel if you don't vote for Donald Trump. Really intelligent, really great game plan for Republicans.
There's so many things that are wrong with that statement, but the one thing that really stands out, what about separation of religion and state? What about that?
Yeah, well, a lot of people can't separate the two.
Wow.
I don't think there's a... All right, so we do have to talk some basketball when we come back, Mo, so I want to take a quick break. By the way, those of you joining us, subscribe to my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show, where you can continue watching the show live on my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. We also ask that you subscribe to the Occupy Democrats page, which is only $5 a month as well. And check out my website, man. I have a new website. It's ptlradio.com. That's ptlradio.com, where you could kind of subscribe to our newsletter and be a part of what we do on there as well. Speaking of being a part of what we do, we love Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, literally a mile or two down the road from the station. We go there for lunch all the time. Me and Mo do that. And great food, the best chicken Alfredo I've ever had, a great gaming bar. They're awesome. Brian Slipbach is the best. I've hit a few jackpots there, and so have you.
You have recently.
From time to time.
It's been a while for me, brother, but I'll give it another try.
Jackson's Bar and Grill is the best. We love Jackson's. Check them out, Flamingo and Jones. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. Subscribe to my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show if you want to watch the rest of the show live. And we'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow